Hello viewers, welcome back to the Chat with the Scholar discussion series hosted by CU SCFA. This is Dr. Lakshmi.
And this is Dr. Naveen.
And we will be the moderators for this session. As India aspires to achieve superpower status and lead on the global stage, the looming threat of communal disharmony continues to cast a shadow. Recent incidents have only underscored the urgency of this issue. Concurrently, external forces see this division as an opportunity to impede India's progress. Navigating this challenge is a pivotal in our endeavor to build united society and ensure shared growth. To throw light on this topic and share his insights, we have with us today Professor Trilochan Sastry. Professor Sastry is a faculty member in the decision science area. His interest and work, however, include supply chain and operations, as well as social entrepreneurship, rural development, and good governance. He was the dean at IIMB from 2008 to 2011. He has consulted for various corporates, government, and international agencies on wide-ranging issues such as corporate strategy, restructuring of organizations, evaluation of large development programs, cooperatives, producer companies, and governance. He also does pro bono work for NGOs and the development sector. His work for civil society has been recognized, and he has received various awards, including the CNN IBN, NDTV, Times of India Indian of the Year. He has received Distinguished Alumni Award from IIT Delhi and also Outstanding Young Teacher Award from the Association for Indian Management Schools. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Without further ado, we would like to hand over the session to our guest speaker, Professor Sastry. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi, and a big thanks to Dr. Rishikesh and our other moderator and to Christ University for giving me this opportunity. And hearty greetings to all the young students who are participating in this. So the topic for discussion is the role of youth in building a healthy and strong society. So we can go to the next slide. So, many of us, even I was young at one time, if you are interested in things beyond studies, there are extracurricular activities and games and so on. But some people are interested in public issues, in economics, in politics also, and try to volunteer for some good work in society. And sometimes some more active students participate in dharnas and all sorts of things. But on all this, we often don't think of an important issue, which is the society itself. So there is politics, there is economics, there is religion, all these things are there. But what is the society that we are living in? Once in a while, we should step back and think about it. So that is going to be the topic about, and why is it important? How is our society today different from 20 years ago? And what is the role of youth in building a better society? These are the things that we are going to discuss. So can we move on, please? So why is society important? What is a society? A society is a large group with similar political authority and dominant cultural expectations. A kind of technical definition that scholars give. There are many definitions out there. And it's also relationships between individuals who share a common culture. And societies also tell us what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. So whether you're a professor or a student or a citizen, there are certain things which we are expected to do and certain things which we are expected not to do. So all these is part of society. But I'll focus on similar political authority and dominant cultural expectations. And as we move to the next slide, please. These. Can we go to the next slide, please? Hello.
Yes, sir. We have changed it.
but it's not coming up on the screen, right?
I think we'll stop presenting and then represent, sir.
The next slide is not coming up.
Yes, sir. There seems to be
Yeah.
some technical issue.
Yeah.
Just give us a minute, sir.
Yeah. So now it's coming. So, first thing, when we are in the thick of things, we often forget to step back and think, where are we? So the older definitions need a change. So if you look at India, for instance, all of you are at Christ College. I visited that quite a few times. There are students from every part of the country. So is it a common culture? There are students who speak different languages at home. There are students with different religions, students with different economic background. So it is not a common culture in that sense. It is a diverse culture. That is because Indian society itself is not homogeneous. And what is acceptable for a student from his part of the country may not be acceptable in Bangalore, may not be acceptable in some other part of the country, in some other context. So all these things are there. So what is the society and how does it impact us? Second thing is, in India, data show that in the last, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years, there's a huge migration. So if you look around Bangalore, the number of original Bangaloreans is percentage is shrinking, and the number of migrants, people from other parts of the country, has increased. This is true of Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, etc., etc. All the cities in the country, people are migrating to that. So there is a lot of diversity that is happening. So when people migrate, what happens? They come to a new culture, they come to a new situation, a new society. The language is different, the food is different, the social norms are different. That is one thing which is different. Now, what happens with this migration? How does it redefine society? We'll talk about. Second is the social media. So this is man's best friend, the smartphone or mobile. I'm sure all the students have smartphones, and in India it is close to 100% penetration. That means there is hardly any part of India where these phones have not reached, whether in India or outside. Technically, instantaneously, that information can be available all over the world. Such information was never available in the 20th century. You had to wait for one day, but now it's instantaneously available. You don't have to depend on radio, TV, this, that, the media. The public itself becomes the reporters and the media. But at the same time, there are a lot of fake news, viral news, celebrity tweets. So these are two ways in which our society has changed dramatically. One is the huge migration within the country and around the world. And second is the huge amount of social media information that we have. So a 20-year-old student or 18-year-old student has more access to information in 1 month than maybe his grandfather had in his entire lifetime, because every day you get so many messages and videos and all sorts of things. Another thing about India is that we have the most active WhatsApp users in the world. We have over 500 million WhatsApp users. Sorry for that typo. The second highest is 150 million in Brazil. USA is less than 100 million. So we are the biggest WhatsApp users in the world. China apparently has banned WhatsApp. So whatever the reason is, we are number one. Can we move on, please? So worldwide, about 140 billion messages a day are sent. There are about 7 billion people. That means 20 messages per person are floating every day. So there's a huge amount of information out there. And, the young people are the most active. So the 10 to 24-year-old, there are, 8.85 billion, and here there are whatever, so many million people are there who are sending messages. And surveys across the world indicate that between 40 and 67% of young adults have seen hateful and degrading writings or speeches online. Maybe in the Q&A, some of you can tell us that everybody almost in this country has seen such messages. And they say that about 21% of people have been victims of trolls and hate speeches and whatever hate messages. Even the Supreme Court of India has said that the atmosphere is sullied because of hate speech. So this is a new social reality. It is redefining society. Is society only offline or is society online? How much of our life is spent online? For example, this discussion we are having itself is online. So let's move on. So in summary, what we think about society traditionally has changed dramatically in the 21st century. So there is huge migration. In India, after independence, there was a lot of migration from South India to North India, and to Bombay and to Calcutta, etc. But today, the great migration is from North India to South India. There are something like 100 million people or more who are migrants, and some of them are seasonal migrants. Construction workers and all. They come, they work for a few months, then they go back home. Agriculture labor also. So all this migration is going on. And news, fake news, hate messages are at an all-time high. Now, what happens as a result of this? You see, when a person from some distant state comes to Bangalore and either goes to Christ University or takes up a job or becomes a gig worker or a construction worker or something, what does such a person do? He or she first tries to find people of their own background. So they will go and join a group. Physically, it's in the sense that they will all live together in a particular area, and most of his immediate friend circle will be from people of his state, because that is the only comfort that you get when you go to a new place. But when there are many such groups, there is a little bit of friction because the friction is largely because people want to they are wondering who are these new people, what is going on, are we there is always a bit of an apprehension of the other people. So for example, I recently saw a video where in the United States, long back, 50 years ago, in prosperous neighborhoods, white people used to live. Then a black family moved into that neighborhood, and somebody was interviewing the neighbors on what do they think of a black person coming into the neighborhood. And they were clearly saying that they don't like it. So these kind of things also happen, and this is happening in India all the time. Now, all this is leading to a bit of division. See, migration is good and it is inevitable, and for those who are sensible, it broadens their outlook. You say, oh, okay, I came from such a place, I thought the world was like that, but now I'm meeting people from different parts of the country with different languages, different food, different religion, different caste, different social norms, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot to learn. But sometimes when we are under stress, I'll come to that a little later, there is a lot of stress in today's world. So when that happens, it also creates, that stress also creates a desire not to interact with such people. Now, there is a traditional way of thinking which I'm going to question. Society is divided across religion, caste, community, language, this, that, South India, North India, all these things are there. But now you discover, and I will ask this question to the students right away, all of you must be on some WhatsApp groups and friends groups, family groups. Within friends groups and family groups, there are bitter discussions and sometimes abusive messages. And you wonder, Arey, that fellow is my friend, so and so is my uncle. How can he say such things? And the division is no longer across different communities. The division has gone into the friend circles and into the family groups. So, is it good to have a divided society? Is one question. So that's the kind of, so we have a society with lot of different groups and migrants. We have social media and we have hate speeches and we have a divided society. So what kind of a society should we build? There is no going back to ancient times and ancient wisdom, although we can learn from it. We have to start thinking what kind of a society should we build. So shall we go forward, please? So I'm going to take a small bit of digression. You see, there's a background to what I'm going to say. You see, in India, after independence, much of the discussion was based on what nowadays people call Western ideas. Socialism is a Western idea, capitalism is a Western idea. You know, there is enough wisdom in India. Why don't we look at it? All that. I mean, it has some merit. I'm not saying that India has no wisdom, and I am not saying that we should not learn from others. So, what do we learn from our own history about a divided society? So, I'm going to skip through this very fast. So, if you start with the Mahabharata, which is one of the ancient scriptures or texts, two sets of cousins fought with each other. There was a bloody war, and one set of cousins were killed, and the other set of cousins they lost all their children. What is the reason? Divided family. I'm not even saying divided society. It was a divided family. Then, in the same, towards the end of the Mahabharata, you read that Lord Krishna, uh, who's supposed to be God, he belonged to the Yadava clan, and the Yadava clans started fighting with each other and they were destroyed. So they self destroyed. Why? Because they were a divided society. Now, I don't want to get into modern day politics and all, I'm just putting it in a simple manner. Invaders came to India first from the Middle East and then from England. So I used to often wonder, the invaders from the Middle East, 5,000 people on a horseback crossing the Khyber Pass, no food and water. By the time they reached here, many people had died on the way and they were exhausted. 5,000 people is not much. Like that, they came in some waves repeatedly. And India is a huge country. They conquered this country. I used to wonder why. It is because we were a divided society. If the invader went and conquered one part, the other people were not bothered. A divided society. And same thing, when England came later, after say 700-800 years in 1600-1700s, they were actually steamships made of wood, and 500-600 people used to come on those boats, and they conquered this country, huge country. So what were we doing? At the height of the British Empire, they say that there was two people per district. One is the collector or district magistrate, and the other is the head of police called SP or superintendent of police. Two British officers in each district, and they ruled this country. Why? What kind of a society did we have? So I'm not saying that ancient societies are bad or anything, but we have to learn from our history. The main point I'm trying to make is when we are internally divided, something happens bad to our society and we suffer. Are we in that situation today? Are we a divided society? Does hate speech divide the society? Does a divided society, is it possible for it to prosper? We want to compete with the world. We want to get ahead of China. We want to do so many good things. Can we afford to be divided or should we unite? Can we go ahead, please? So, Abraham Lincoln, the famous American president, he said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. He was talking about the Civil War in the United States when the northern and southern states fought. And he said, it cannot stand if you're divided. And that is true for any society and it is true for India. So, let's go ahead. So, let me summarize once again. From our history, we learn that a divided society is not good, and whenever the society was divided, we suffered. So, are we in that situation today? And therefore, what should we do? And also, before that, I mentioned how society has changed dramatically in the 21st century due to the huge migrations within India across states and all sorts of things, and due to the social media. There is 20% of social media which is very good, but the human nature is such that the bad parts is what sticks to the mind. There's a lot of problem with the way social media has been used and misused. So what do we do? I wish I knew the answer. I don't know the answer, so I would like to hear from uh, both the moderators and perhaps the students also if you have any suggestions, because we are planning to start an initiative more or less around India uh, to start working on building a healthy, happy, unified society, which is the basis of economic growth, good politics, everything. So the first step is to unify society and stop suspicion, fear, anxiety, hate, etc. So I'm just quoting just for the sake of driving home the point. So I assume everybody knows the national anthem. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkala, Banga. So what is he saying here in the national anthem? Rabindranath Tagore. He's saying that all these different states, like a garland, are part of India, one India. So he's already saying that India is a diverse country, but it is still one. That notion we should have. And the other thing is, where do we go to learn? In today's world, in the modern society, if we want to learn something good, morals and ethics, where do we go? Capitalism, Marxism, socialism, or any other ism is not going to teach you about a good society, good morals, and good ethics. We generally, world over, people go back to religion. No, religion is a very complicated subject for those who think it is complicated. I'm not going to get into religion, but let us see what our own culture says. So India has produced all kinds of saints, North India, South India, East India, West India. I put down the names: Kabir, Mira, Basavanna, Nanak, the Alvars and Nayanars from Tamil Nadu, Tyagaraja Ramdas from Andhra, Basavanna from Karnataka, by the way, Chaitanya from Bengal, Tulsidas from UP, and Vemana again from, and so many great saints have been produced. If you again go back to history, this bhakti movement, as they call it, perhaps arose after the repeated invasions from the Middle East. So the religion was perceived to be under threat. I don't know whether it was or not, but they wanted to reach the masses and they used common language. They did not use Sanskrit. They sang songs and they preached good things. What are they saying? How much of it is relevant to us? I'll give you a bit of a glimpse of that as we go along. But all of them in different ways were saying only one thing: don't hate anybody, love everybody, and be compassionate. Now, is it all goody goody stuff of ancient times? And it is not. Now, we are capitalists, we work hard, we go up in life, we compete, we beat the other guy, and we become successful. And that is one model. It's a good model, I'm not against it. But is that all there is? If we only do that, we will not get a good society. You see, America is a deeply divided society. So deeply divided, you can't believe it. It is like, you have those people who support Donald Trump and those people who completely oppose Donald Trump. Then you have whites, blacks, Mexicans, and so many ideologies, and all sorts of things are going on. Economically, they're doing well, but socially, they are in a mess. So we don't have much to learn too much about from other countries. We have to think ourselves that what is the strength of our culture and how do we should actually become a role model for others in the positive sense. So all religions are saying the same thing. So shall we move ahead a little bit, please? Next, yeah. So I'm not trying to present a doomsday bad thing. There are many good things that are happening in India. The very fact that all of you are studying in Christ University is very good. The fact that all of you are coming from different parts of the country is very good. The fact that you have good teachers and a good university and learning new things is very good for the society. So it's not that everything is bad, but once in a while we have to think, how can we do better? How can we do better? To do better, we have to understand our situation and then strive to do better. Now, I've been interacting with a lot of young people, and you guys will also have to educate me, our students. So, what I find is many people are away from home. Their hometown is not even in Karnataka, and very often they are from different parts of the country. They're staying in hostels, paying guest accommodation in new cities, etc. And now, lot of data shows that even young people are under stress. Earlier, you had to get married and become grown up to become stressed. But now we hear that young people are under stress. This competition, education, it creates stress. Career, job, whether you will get a good job, even if you get a job, is it good enough? Is the boss good? And what is the work? All these things sometimes create stress. Then interpersonal relations also create stress. This was not there earlier, because earlier people lived at home and they parents arranged their marriages, good or bad, but now you have to find your own partners and you go through several relationships even at a young age, and you go into a lot of stress. The jobs are stressful and education is competitive, and there's not much guidance available. If you're in a new city, who's going to tell you? So I see students, even I am Bangalore, we now have a counselor, a psychologist counselor, and many students, and actually even some faculty, I believe, they are going for counseling because they are under stress. So this is not the signs of a good society. So what do we do? I will discuss a little bit and leave it to you to respond. But who will solve this problem? Is the government going to solve? This is not the government's job. This is a social issue. This is a societal issue. Will the leader solve the problem? No. This is a social issue. The society has to get together and solve it. Will all the corporates and employers solve this? They also have some counselors and stress management in the companies, but they're not really, they just want to make you good enough to do good work, but they're not interested in necessarily making you a happy, healthy, wholesome human being. That we have to do. We have to do ourselves. Our friends and relatives have to do. Our society has to do, because it is in our interest. So, and we don't have any anchor today. We are kind of loose. We are somewhere in some new place. Earlier, family or some family values or something was an anchor. Now we are all by ourselves. It's a great sense of freedom and adventure. But when there is stress along, then the freedom and adventure evaporate, and the stress causes all these problems, and then you end up going to counselors and all that. So what should we do as young people? I really feel a little concerned. I'm not saying it's a mass epidemic or it's a huge problem, but it is there. And along with all these hate speeches and all this thing is going on. So what do we do? So I can only say goody things, and I will wait to hear from you. You have to go back to positive ideas. Just avoid all negative things. Good role models. See, today India is supposed to be, if not the top, in the top three nations of the world in chess. Four Indians reached the quarterfinals of the World Cup chess finals, and one of them reached the final, and they're all teenagers. Some of them are younger than the students of Christ University. So good things are happening. In athletics, we recently came second, just behind the United States, which everybody was admiring. And somebody yesterday or day before won the gold medal in javelin in an international competition. In cricket, we have always been good. Now, once in a while, we go up and down. And of course, we landed on the moon, and Russia failed. And so we are many good things are happening in India. It means that there is talent, there is scope, there are good things. For those good things, we need a solid basis, which is what I'm talking about, that we need to build a healthy society. It's not all bad news. So shall we go to I think the last slide, perhaps? Last but two. So common sense suggestions. I mean, this sounds like preaching, but Don't waste time on social media. You see, I used to have a professor, he's retired now. His name is Kiran Seth. He is the founder of Spick McKay, which organizes not social, cultural and music programs in colleges around the country and even in schools. So he sends our group a thing on Thursday saying that please remember Mahatma Gandhi and maintain social media silence for 1 hour today on Thursday. He's being very mild. So overuse of social media, a lot of studies has shown actually leads to more stress and confusion. And then, this forwarding of messages with hate, fear, anger, violence, we should not do that. Because our job as young people and even as not young people is not to spread all these negative things. In fact, if possible, block those guys who are sending such things. Instead, spread some inspiring videos. See, 1 out of 3 videos even I get are very inspiring. Some ordinary person in some village has done a wonderful thing. Some girl with great difficulty and this thing has overcome all the odds and done a PhD, although her parents and everybody else are illiterate. So there are many inspiring stories which are coming out. Those need to be spread because we need to create a better atmosphere in this country. And you see, we neglect to learn about our history and culture. See, when I used to appear for, I used to go for interviews for admission to the IIM. So if you ask somebody from North India, in those days, we used to largely call it Trivandrum. Now it's called Thiruvananthapuram. You say, where is Thiruvananthapuram? He'll be silent. You don't know where it is. Sir, it's in Tamil Nadu. Are you sure it's in Tamil Nadu? No idea. Easy. They have no idea about India. Then you ask him, name 3 cities on the east coast of the United States. Sir, he will say Boston, New York, Florida. Name 3 cities on the west coast. He'll name 3 cities on the west coast. Then I say, you can't tell us anything about India? You know everything about America? So this has to change. We have to learn a little bit. I don't think you have to become a scholar, but we have to know a little bit about our own history and culture. If it is not there in the courses, it doesn't matter. Now, on Google and books and internet and all that, you can learn very easily about. And of course, you should learn from your teachers and the courses you attend, whatever you're supposed to learn. It may not be related only to history and culture. And also, actively connect with good people. Just avoid all these fellows who are spreading hate. Just connect with good people, become positive. These are some common sense suggestions. And I think the last slide is probably the next one. So this is what I'll close with. I was very hesitant to add this slide or even give this talk, but I have been concerned about this social issue, societal issue for a long time. So when this request came from Christ University, I was very grateful and I said, I'll speak on this, and kindly they agreed. So here is a small list. So since we are in Karnataka, I'll start with Basavanna. He was a great saint of Karnataka. And he says, Kaya Kave Kailasha. He says, Kaya means hand. In your hand is Kailasha. Kailasha is some heaven of Shiva or something. What he's saying, heaven is in your hands. What he's meaning is, hand is the means of work. You work hard, honestly, and you will attain heaven, or you will attain the highest thing. Very simple, straightforward stuff. You won't find it in Marx and Engels and Adam Smith and socialism and all these isms. You won't find all these things. So Guru Nanak, I've gone from Karnataka to North India now. Guru Nanak says, Naam Japo, Kirat Karo, that should be Vand Chako. It is not VANCH, sorry, Vand Chako. So Naam Japo means remember God. Kirat Karo means work honestly, work hard. And Vand Chako means share the fruit of your labor with everybody. Share with everybody. This is a very good way of thinking about one's own life. That's all there is. Work hard, and share the fruits with everybody. Not for me, not only for me. Our Vedas say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is our family. Kutumba, everybody understands is family, and Vasudhaiva means the world. The world is our family. So no divisions, no North Indian, South Indian, Kannada, Punjabi, this caste, that caste, no. This religion, that religion, no. We are all, because the Veda is saying it, and Vedas are the supreme authority for Hindus at least. It says Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavanti in Sanskrit. Those of you who know any Indian language well, you can understand. It says, may all beings be happy. We should remember that. We should pray for that. The Bible says, love thy neighbor as thyself. The Quran says, Allah loves those who do good. And Buddha said, Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya. Work for the good and happiness of all beings. The reason I am putting these sayings is there is a wealth of literature from our own culture which can form a basis of building a healthy, happy society. So let us learn a little bit from that and avoid the negative things because it is in our hands. Kayyave Kailasha, Kayyakave Kailasha is saying it is in our hands to build a good society for ourselves and connect with good people and good organizations. You don't have to be alone. So let me stop here. I think I got a little moral and preaching on this. I'm sorry about that, but it is out of concern for what is happening. So thank you from everybody in Christ for giving me this opportunity. Of course, if there are comments, questions, criticisms, we can proceed.
So, thank you, sir, for sharing your insightful perspectives on this crucial topic. Your insights will provide a solid foundation for further discussions. Sir, we thought we can bring in more discussion. So, some of the questions that we thought of which are more relevant to this discussion. So, I'm sure that your responses will enrich the understanding of the topic, and we can definitely discuss more on this. So, my first question to you, sir, as
Your voice is
to
not.
read on the digital platform.
We'll have to repeat. The voice got cut off in the middle.
Okay, sir, I'll repeat the question.
Yeah.
Today, as we are taking classes in the classrooms, we find that many of our students, form their opinions by what they get to see on the digital content.
Correct.
So, whether it is a fake news or whether it is anything, whatever they get to see, get to listen to on the digital platforms, they are forming their opinion.
Correct.
In fact, the mindset is shaped by what they get to see online.
Correct.
So, in this context, how do we, as a society, regulate what is posted on the digital platforms? Because it seems like there's not much has been done about the regulation part, the content, what gets posted on the digital platforms. What is your perspective on this, sir?
Yeah, very important question. We also discuss it in IAM. Same question. So there are two ways of thinking about it. One is, to regulate. Some professors will say, at least in my class, you can't bring your mobile phones or you have to switch it off. And some ask for regulation by the government and legal and all that. That's one. The second one is a different approach where to the extent possible, we ask students to use, again, I'm using from our culture, a word which is called Vivek. Vivek or Viveka means discrimination. Discrimination means the ability to see something and discriminate and say this is true, this is false, this is good, this is bad, this is fake news, this is real news, etc., etc. And we need to help the young people to develop that power of discrimination. And it's very simple. If something sensational or very different comes, try to look whether there are 5 other independent sources which are giving the same thing. If they're not, then it is likely to be fake. And of course, there are IT teams which are working on fake news, etc. See, the other thing is, all this happens because many of us, including young people and not so young people, we forget to think for ourselves. So when we stop thinking for ourselves, we just take pre-digested nonsense from here and there and form our opinions on that. And actually, thinking for oneself is fun. That actually makes you free. You become a free person when you think for yourself and you accept what seems good, what seems not good. And again, going back to our culture, the great Gautam Buddha, the very famous statement, he says, do not believe something because a great man or some great book says it. Think for yourself. If you find it true, then accept it. Otherwise, don't accept it. This is there in our culture. It is not something new. Personally tend to prefer the other thing. That way, actually, we are helping people to develop their own power of discrimination. And as self-appointed teachers, we have to help them to think for themselves. So I would also emphasize that part.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So the next question that came up to our mind is when we were looking at United Society, and on the other hand, the technological advancements that are happening. So we often come across this new fad of metaverse. So there's a virtual society that is getting built on, and India active users, if you see as of today, around penetration rate is around 5%, and it is expected to reach around 20% by 2030. So this society, virtual society that we are looking at, is not regulated like the common no real world society is. So we do have certain customs, rules, regulations, but this metaverse or virtual society is not unregulated. So there are instances of bullying, racism, extremism, trauma, almost related to no real life violence that have been reported. So when we see a certain sector of youth moving towards this
I can't hear you. I think your voice got cut. You said
society,
certain. You said certain section of youth, and then it got cut.
yes, a certain section of youth are now moving towards this virtual society, are being no attracted towards this. So
Right.
how does our united society concept work here? How do we bring in that unity amongst people who are divided between virtual and real world?
I wish
So,
I knew, but this is a age-old problem in a certain way. Young people, they like to experiment with life. They drink, they smoke, they have all kinds of relationships. Sometimes a few of them take drugs, and the elders have always been worried about how to handle this. So this is a new kind of a drug that has come in, this metaverse. Now, what I can make out, I'm not into metaverse, and I don't have time to live in this real world is interesting enough. Why should I go to imaginary world? Metaverse. I'm not interested in that.
yeah.
But you see, if it is causing negative feelings and all, people should leave that. Just switch it off. I mean, and we have to sort of support, encourage people to, lead a full, proper life rather than wasting time in some imaginary world. I always feel that instead of negative, don't do this, don't do that, we have to go towards the positive. There is enough positive. There are a lot of good people and good organizations and good things happening in the country. So we have to expose and tell people, see, there are so many good things. Why don't you try that? Why don't you try this? And when they latch on to something positive, all these things are more likely to drop off. It is due to stress and confusion that they are doing this. So we have to, and the best stress buster is do positive things, work hard and do positive things, meet with positive people, feel good about yourself, read inspiring stories, hear about inspiring people. This is a pretty good way of dealing with many of these negative feelings, which is causing them to go into all this imaginary world. Little bit of exploration is okay, but getting hooked to it is bad.
Right, sir.
Yes. So one more point for discussion. The colleges and universities they play a dominant role in shaping the mindset of the youngsters. Today, when we say youth, we are largely referring to an age group of probably 20 to 25, which is majority where they spend their time in the colleges and universities. Uh, do you have any specific recommendation to higher education institutions like one that of Christ University? As to what are the specific things that we can do in order to shape the mindset of the students towards a healthy, united nation?
Very good question. Very difficult. You see, one of my teachers used to say, "Where are the teachers?" So each one of us who has taken on the responsibility of teaching should strive to become examples. Not that we have to go and win the world chess championship or something, but we have to be the example of what we are trying to tell. If we are ourselves indisciplined on social media and tell students, they may not know that at home you are spending all your time on social media, but that's what I mean. So we have to first examine ourselves and say, whatever we are saying, are we following? So Gandhi used to say, be the change that
You
you
want to
want.
see?
Yeah, Gandhi is a very, very wise man, at least according to me, and according to many people, not only millions and millions of people. So we have to make ourselves also fit for, you know, teaching the younger people. That is the first step, I would say. And second thing, I am a strong believer, particularly because of my interest in people like Vivekananda, in the positive. Be positive, give positive messages, because people want to see hope, positive energy, dynamism, good things. They don't want to see all this. Yeah, don't do this. You will go to hell. Don't do that. Yes, a positive approach and guiding them towards the positive things. It could be through extracurricular activities. It could be even, I'm only one. You can invite so many better people to speak to the students and connect them with other good organizations which are doing good things. Good ideas have a very powerful, and because at the young age, it makes a big impact. You see, I went to IIM Ahmedabad, and there the presiding deity was Mahalakshmi. That means earn money. Okay, how to earn more money. So some of us were not interested, but it was not a stated message. But you have to get a good job, earn a lot of money, try to rise high. All these things were there. Then many years later, one guy who was 1 year senior to me, who was a businessman, he had started his own company. He came to meet me. I was teaching in the other IIM, and he told me that Ravi Mathai, who was our one of our professors and founding director, he talked a lot about social work, and he was trying to say that everything is not about I, me, myself, and money and success. You can become happy and successful by doing something good to society. So I was very surprised that he was saying that. He said, "No, no, no, I have not acted upon it, but now I want to act upon it." But I said, "Why do you?" He says, "No, no, it made a big impact on me." So what you're saying is correct, that positive messages have an impact. But the reason he remembered what Ravi Mathai said is that Ravi Mathai himself was doing that. So when he says something, then people say, "Okay, it has an impact." Otherwise, know, simply saying something. So, so there is some responsibility on ourselves as well, and of course on the young people.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, continuing with the topic of hate speech that we had in your presentation, recently UN came up with their plan of action, and the only thing that they promoted is digital literacy, more awareness amongst the people. But do you think there could be any other strategies that we could deploy
I don't know.
apart from digital literacy?
When I was very young, I remember going to some place where there was a motto written there. Again, I'm quoting Buddha: hatred cannot be conquered by hatred. Hatred can be conquered by love alone. So that's what we have to think. If we hate the people who are full of hate, how will it solve the problem? It just goes on and on. goes on and on. I mean, the karma will never end. It will go on and on. So if you have to break it, so Gandhi himself was a very good example. He said, "Don't hate the British. Don't hate the British." He says the empire and their actions were bad, but don't hate. He actually practiced it. Now it sounds very philosophical, but otherwise, those people are doing hate speech. I hate them. I'm going to expose them. I am going to, abuse them. Then they will abuse you. Where is the end to this? I don't see the end to this. So let the United Nations do all this stuff, but I feel the counter is what Buddha said. Hatred can be conquered by love alone. That means we have to spread good and positive messages actively. And most people actually like such positive messages because nobody likes to get up in the morning and see some hate speech and some nonsense, somebody abusing somebody else, and it's very cheap. After a while, it's enough. I mean, a little bit is okay, but beyond that, the human mind doesn't. But we are not doing enough of the good things. So I think we should use the same. As they say, fire can be used for burning the house, or it can be used for cooking or keeping yourself warm. So the social media is also like that. Let's use it in a positive way because it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Social boycott is also a good thing. I mean, instead of saying that you hate somebody, if somebody is always talking nonsense, you just there should be a social boycott of such people because they are not very pure, hardworking, dedicated people. They're just stupid people who are spreading hate messages. They don't have any character. If you have a good character means courage, compassion, etc., etc. Discrimination. If you have a good character, you will never do such things. So these people are already, we are not saints that we can help them to reform. Just ignore them, and society should ignore them. Don't forward those messages.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, just a thought that came into
Again, I'm losing you. I think it's getting cut.
his quote.
Oh no, you'll have to
Yeah,
repeat.
is my voice audible, sir, now?
Yes,
Is it
yes.
yes, yes. So I just remember reading one of the quotes of Socrates, who's a philosopher, and he said, that nation needs people who can think and act, right? And we have seen in the context of the youngsters following the herd mentality. So that there is somebody giving a hate speech, there are a couple of follows for them as well.
Mm.
So how do we ensure that today's youngsters develop that independent thinking and they do not follow the herd mentality?
I wish I knew again, but there is no quick. You can't make them like that in one day. It is a process. It's a process that they have to go through. Sometimes they learn on their own, but if we can help, we should help them. That's what I'm saying. The same Socrates said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." And who's to examine your life? Not somebody else, not a counselor or a psychiatrist. You have to examine your own life. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing all these things? So we have to encourage them to think for themselves and examine themselves. And you see, there will always be some 5% of people who will do all these things. But majority are not like that. And we have to say, gently, don't waste your time with all these things. There are good things happening in life. You see, the test is what makes you happy. Temporarily, all this thing may give you some minor kicks and sensation, but in the long run, it makes you unhappy. But doing positive and good things, energetic things, helping each other, working hard, all this actually makes you the person can realize that this is making me happy. So why should I not do this?
Yes,
I'm a very big believer in positive.
yes.
So there's one more question that comes up. No countries with a single religious majority, do you think they have a better advantage in creating united societies versus India where there's religious diversity? So what are your perspective? Is this a challenge or do you see this as an opportunity to create a united society?
I think it's a great opportunity. You see, now we have all the great religions of the world in India. Because the majority religion is Hinduism, but every religion, including Jews and Parsis, which are very small in number, are there in India. Islam, Christianity, Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, everybody is there. All the major religions of the world are in India. But even before the so-called, Islam and Christianity, which are supposed to have come from outside India, there was enough religious diversity in India. It's nothing. See, for example, Ramanujacharya, who was a great saint from Tamil Nadu, he had to leave Tanjavur, not Tanjavur, what is that place? Tiruchirappalli, because the then king was a Shaivite and he was not favorably disposed towards
Right.
Vishnu devotees. So he came to Karnataka. He lived here in exile for 20 years in Melkote. And many such stories are there about conflicts between Shiva, Shaivites, and Vaishnavites, and this and that, and between Jains and Hindus and Buddhists, full of stories. So this religious strife is not something which is new, but we have dealt with it. Maybe not fully successfully, but we have dealt with it. I think we have the potential in India to actually become real Vishwagurus. Not self. See, you become a Vishwaguru when somebody else says you're a guru. If you proclaim yourself as a guru, then it doesn't make any sense to me, at least. A real guru never says I'm a guru. Other people go and say you're a guru. So we have a chance to become a Vishwaguru if we can show real religious harmony. And I think we can show it because this is the best laboratory in the world. This is the best laboratory in the world to show that all of us can live happily and peacefully. And in recent times, many people have said this. One is, of course, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi himself, who was very much into this. And before that, Vivekananda and all the great saints and sages of India, they are very much in favor of. You see, the peculiar nature of India. I don't know which pope. He came to India some in the 60s or 70s, and they organized a big public meeting to hear him speak. So when he went there, he found thousands and thousands of people had gathered to listen to him. So he asked somebody, who was organizing it, say, are they all Christians? He said, no, 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 they're not all Christians. He says, why have they come? He says, in India, they think you're a holy man, and if you're a holy man, they come to listen to you and they respect you. In the villages, this is the spirit. This is the spirit. If you go to Ajmer, which is the Chisti, it is a very Muslim kind of a thing. A lot of Hindus go. Even Lal Kishan Advani went to Ajmer. And we have the infant Jesus thing in Bangalore. Most of the people who pray to infant Jesus are actually Hindus. So we already have that. We should not allow some elements to disturb this. We have to build on it. And we can actually become Vishwagurus. I think it's an opportunity. There is no other way, because if you don't unite, we will be destroyed. That's what I've been saying. Lord Krishna's Yadavas were destroyed because they fought with each other. If we don't want to destroy ourselves, there is no other way. So Arnold Toynbee was a great historian. He wrote a study of history, 12 volumes, where he studied every civilization in the world from beginning of time. Very masterly. I have not, of course, read all the 12. But he says in the foreword to another book, he says in this nuclear atomic age, of course, he died before all this new social media, because he had seen the two world wars and the atom bombs and all that. And he says, if we have to survive in this nuclear age, he says, there is only one way, two ways, he says. One is the non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi and the harmony of religions, which is there in India, that has to spread around the world. There is no other way, he says. After studying history for 20 years and writing about Egyptian, Inca, Roman, Indian, Chinese, all civilizations he studied and wrote, he came to this conclusion that we have to go the Indian way of ahimsa and harmony of religions. So we have an opportunity to actually show to the world how we can live peacefully.
Right, sir.
Sir, continuing with the discussion, your previous answer, see, I think it's deeply rooted in our childhood. The sense of identity that we create. For example, if you belong to a particular religion, Right from the childhood, you've been, you've been you've been taught that this is the religion that you belong to, this is the caste that you belong to, this is the state that you belong to, this is the culture that you belong to, and so on and so forth. So there are many levels of division if you look at actually. And the moment you get identified with a particular religion or with a particular institution, anything for that matter, you somewhere, your ego starts protecting your identity. So how do we develop that sense of inclusiveness? Uh, at the same time, we have this strong sense of identity. So there is kind of a conflict. So we even in our probably being parents, even at home, we have this tendency to tell them, "See, you look, you are an Indian, you particular this particular state." But at another level, we are talking about Vasudeva Kutumbam and things like that. So they're two different things. There's one, we are creating a sense of identity, and at the same time, we are talking about global inclusiveness, which is essential to build a united society.
We need both. You see,
Yeah,
uh, Vivekananda said it is good to be born in a church, but it is not good to die there. So we have to start somewhere. Okay, I am from this caste, that religion, this community, this language. That gives you a sense of identity. Nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, this empty liberalism of the West, it is actually leading to psychological problems. I should have some mooring somewhere. But along with that, this universal aspect has to be put. So the nishtha, they used to call it nishtha. I mean, if you are a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you are a Christian, be a good Christian. If you are a Hindu, be a good Hindu. What does that mean? Some people think that if I do puja and keep vrat on Ekadashi, I am a good Hindu. Okay, you do it, nothing wrong. I think it has some benefits. But also means all these things which I said. Work hard, be good to others, be compassionate. If if there is a God, that God is not only for my caste, community, and religion. Because then you have not understood God. It's very difficult to understand God. You have not understood. God is not for Africans. He is not for Asians. He is not for white people. He is not for Eskimos. He is not for Chinese. God for God, everybody is there. So we have to think like that. That everybody is a child of God, and that idea should be there. So the essential teachings, what I call the spiritual teachings. So I'm writing another book on harmony of world religions. The essential spiritual teachings of all religions are the same. Which religion says, all religion says, be compassionate, love everybody, help thy neighbor, don't tell lies, don't hate anybody, don't be jealous. There is no religion which does not say these things, which is telling you in a day-to-day way. And of course, the concepts of God and mukti and nirvana, etc. So, if we, along with our rituals and culture, we should imbibe the essentials of the religion. So, if there is time, I'll tell you a story.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please proceed.
You see, Vivekananda was a Bengali non-Brahmin. He used to be a non-vegetarian. He used to eat everything, and he also used to smoke. Okay. One of his disciples was Alasinga Perumal. Now, Alasinga Perumal was an Orthodox Tamil Iyengar. Photographs are there, with this, and he used to wear that dhoti, and it was very orthodox. So when Vivekananda came back from the West, he went to Calcutta. This Alasinga Perumal went there to be with him, and Vivekananda came with his foreign disciples. Josephine MacLeod was there, and Josephine MacLeod was a very staunch friend and devotee of Vivekananda. And she saw this Alasinga Perumal, very orthodox, very ritualistic. He would not eat in the mutt monastery. He used to take raw rice and raw material and cook and eat separately and follow all these rituals. So she herself writes that one day she was much older. I mean, she was even much older than Vivekananda. She started scolding this Alasinga Perumal. You have seen such a great mind like Vivekananda. Why are you wasting your time in all these rituals and all these things? And she was scolding him. She says that Vivekananda reacted so strongly that she was reduced to tears. He said, I prefer these people who have character and who have nishtha, who have conviction and commitment to whatever they're doing. What is this empty liberalism you are talking about? There is no nishtha. You don't believe in anything. You're roaming around vacantly with no anchor or no mooring. I prefer people like Alasinga Perumal. But he never told Alasinga Perumal, eat fish or stop doing this. You're a vegetarian, you follow your rituals. He encouraged him in doing that. That universal outlook we have to get. I have my way, I like it. So and so has a different way. I respect it.
Yes.
This empty Western liberalism, I don't believe in anything and everything is bakwas, is of no use, is of no good. See, I personally don't follow rituals, but I respect people who follow rituals, but with the right spirit, not blindly. Whichever religion, I don't care. So we have to develop that. What is wrong with that? My
Yes.
mother told me when she was in Chennai, she was staying with my brother. The next door, there were Tamil Brahmins. Okay, and there was a young girl, 5, 6 years old, and every day they used to play on the mic, somewhere the namaz. You could hear it everywhere. The namaz used to be played. So she asked her grandfather, "What is he doing? What is this going on?" She didn't know. He says he is praying to God, he's singing to God. Then she also started saying the namaz and singing loudly like that. But they were Orthodox Tamil Brahmins. But he told her, no, no, he's also praying to God. See, that is the spirit. That is what India can teach the world. That is what we have to teach the world. I don't know if I made sense. So stick
Yes,
to
sir.
our
Yes.
identity and respect all other identities and be universal. Good to be born in a church, but don't die in the church. That's the only thing I can say to your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So one last question from our side that we have. We have always seen that what most of the times bring people together is some shared adversity, something common experience, mostly kind of suffering that they resonate to, and then they all unite together. But now today's youth may not relate to most of the adversities that previous generations have been through. So, what do you think is that shared adversity or something that they can reach out to that makes today's youth come together or stay
I wish I
united?
knew. I was hoping to get suggestions. But you see, the COVID was a
Yes.
shared adversity, but it brought a lot of people together, a lot of volunteers. Some people were very afraid and stayed at home with masks, and some people went out to serve food and give medical aid and provide oxygen right here in Bangalore. And they didn't care whether the person who is suffering is from which caste or community. The Sardars in Bangalore, I went and connected with them. So I asked him, Nimge Kannada gotta? He says, Heli sir, he was very fluent in Kannada. He's a Sardar. And they started langars to feed people who had no food because these workers didn't have. So it's not that there is no adversity. So there is, and there are good things in our culture. We need to build upon that. And this I me, oh, I am alone, I'm suffering, I've got mental problem, I need to go to counselor. That's okay if there's a crisis, but we have to get out of that and get into the positive, sort of happy way of living. So this adversity or crisis will keep on coming up periodically. So we have to encourage. We ourselves have to go and help, and we have to encourage young people to also go and help.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And sports is very good. Generally, sports is good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session listening to you, sir, and especially your perspectives on the role of youth and united society. The session is much needed amidst a lot of lot of content that is going on the digital media, which is dividing the society. Uh, so, and also our youngsters spend a lot of time on the digital platforms, as you said, smartphones and all of that. So it's much needed session, sir. We are very grateful to you. You touched various variety of topics in your presentation, including the learnings from the scriptures. You were able to relate to healthy society, building the united society, which is all the more required. We thank you for your valuable time, sir. We're looking forward the various ways in which we can connect with you and your students, also with the Christ University. If you can suggest some ways through which we can collaborate, it will be grateful, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.